and welcome back to another Artifact Corner. Today we will be looking at a very special book from the 1850s. This is Betsey's receipt book, or recipe book. There are both handwritten recipes and newspaper clippings with different culinary delights. The majority of the book is written in Betsey's hand, but towards the back of the book you can see that the handwriting has changed, and we believe her granddaughter, Fannie, kept the book and continued to add to it. Betsey's penmanship is fairly legible, but Fannie's can be very hard to decipher at times. In addition to all sorts of tasty delights, we also have cleaning techniques and medicinal remedies listed in this book. Let's learn a bit more about the history of receipt books or recipe books. So, why were recipe books called receipt books in the past? The word receipt derives from the Latin recipere, meaning to receive or to take. Both receipt and recipe originally referred to medicinal preparations. These would be either literally prescriptions with lists of ingredients or loose instructions for mixing herbs, plant extractions, and foodstuffs. So a receipt or recipe could be for just about anything, not just food. The first recorded cookbook is said to be 4 clay tablets from 1700 BCE in ancient Mesopotamia. The first recorded cookbook that is still in print today is called Of Culinary Matters, written by Apicius in the 4th century CE Rome. For millennia, people have been trying out new dishes, and when they were successful, they would pass the recipe or receipt along to their family and friends. What we would consider a recipe or cookbook throughout much of history was really the domain of the ultra-wealthy. Kings and queens, the high nobility, and the high clergy would all have recipe books for their cooks to reference. Recipe or receipt books were all handwritten until the invention of the printing press. The introduction and spread of modern printing in the 15th century eventually made it viable to think beyond the wealthiest customer bases. Receipt books of all manner started to be available around the world, from cookbooks for the poorer members of society, such as Plain Cookery for the Working Classes, to books intended for people who could afford to splurge on large, sumptuous meals like Les Soupers de la Cour, or court dinners, which were meals fit for royalty. Our book of receipts has many delightful recipes, like this one for what is called a mountain cake. Beside it is written the word good, so they must have really enjoyed this one. The recipe reads as follows: 1 pound of flour, 3/4 of sugar, 1/2 pound of butter, 3 eggs, 1 teaspoonful of saleratus, which is sodium bicarbonate dissolved in a cup of milk, a wine glass of French brandy, fruit and spice to your taste. That's it. That's the entire recipe. There is no instruction on what to bake it in, how long to bake it, or at what temperature. This is not surprising. Most cookbooks of the time assumed everyone knew how long to bake a cake. They were also using wood or coal stoves in the 1850s, and therefore, you didn't just walk over, press a button, and set your oven to the designated temperature. A lot of cooking and baking was done by practice and experience. If you were a good cook and used the tools in your kitchen often, you could judge how hot your stove was and therefore how long you would need to bake your cake. This book has been handled and used quite a lot in its 170 plus years, and that attention has left its mark. A bit of the cover is missing, and the pages are fragile and dog-eared. But overall, it is in decent condition and mostly still legible. We are so lucky to have this little gem in our collections. If you are interested in learning more about historic cooking, we have just the event for you. Our Taste of the Past event is coming back this summer. Our first tasting will be this coming Sunday, June 12th at 2 p.m. At this event, we try 3 historic food recipes and 1 historic drink recipe and discuss all things historic foods. This is a members-only event, but if you're not a member and would still like to attend, you can become a member on the day. A year-long membership only costs $35. We hope to see you there. And if you give this mountain cake recipe a try, please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for stopping by.